Welcome to another video from 55 Degrees North, your go-to channel for epic stories and hidden gems from the heart of the North East. Today, we're right here on Newcastle's Town Moor, diving into the wild, thrilling and unbelievable history of the Hoppins, the biggest travelling fun fair in Europe. From its Victorian temperance roots to high-flying thrill rides and modern-day madness, this is one story you don't want to miss. To understand how the Hoppins began, we have to travel back to the late 1800s, when Newcastle was a booming coal city. Smoke billowed from chimneys, the town was packed with ships, and thousands of men worked in pits day and night. But with long hours came hard living, and during June's annual race week, a big social event centred around the Newcastle racecourse, the city would erupt in drinking, gambling and often chaos. That's when local religious leaders and temperance campaigners stepped in. They wanted an alternative, something clean, family friendly and sober. Their answer? A new kind of event on the Town Moor, the Temperance Festival. Launched in 1882, the first version of the Hoppins looked very different from today's flash and thrill rides. It featured athletics like sack races, tug-of-war and foot races for local pitmen, as well as morale speeches, band music and stalls selling lemonade and ginger beer instead of ale. Alderman Windle Stevens, a champion of the cause, helped make the festival a success. A drinking fountain was erected in his honour in 1908 and still stands today near the Town Moor. But of course, where there are people, there's demand for fun. Quickly, the fair added amusements, swing boats, helter-skelters, fortune tellers and travelling showmen with rides hauled in by horses. Within the decade, the Temperance Festival had transformed into a full-on fairground, a place where hard-working Geordie families could relax, laugh and let loose without the racecourse ruckus. By the turn of the 20th century, the Hoppins had outgrown its temperance roots. It became the summer event for Newcastle families, planned their year around it. Local leaders and showmen came from across Britain, and while the drinking may have returned, so did the joy. The Hoppins was here to stay. As the 20th century progressed, the Hoppins quickly became the summer staple for families across Tyneside, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. In 1912, after one of the wettest Junes on record, the Town Moor was left in a swampy state. The fair had churned up the grass so badly that the freemen of Newcastle, the traditional guardians of the moor, refused permission for future events. It was a blow, and just 2 years later, an even greater challenge arrived: World War I. With the country at war and resources scarce, the Hoppins was temporarily moved from the Town Moor to Jesmond Vale. In 1914, it wasn't the same. Local newspapers reported poor weather, deep mud and smaller crowds, but still the show went on, a sign of resilience during uncertain times. After the war ended, the fair returned triumphantly to the Town Moor in 1919, but a smaller version still lingered in Jesmond Vale until the mid-1920s, almost like a satellite event. Through the 1920s and 30s, the Hoppins grew steadily. New attractions like steam-powered rides and sideshow acts wowed the crowds. Local traders set up shop, and the event became a key date on the North East social calendar. World War II paused the Town Moor Hoppins again, but from 1942 to 1945, holidays at home fairs in Exhibition Park kept spirits alive. When peace returned, so did the Hoppins. The 1950s and 60s brought new thrills, spinning walls, whirling arms and even louder music. The fair ran for a full week and eventually started opening on Sundays and Friday nights. The Hoppins hit their peak in the late 20th century. In 1979, over 1.25 million people visited. That's more than the entire population of the North East. By the 1990s, over 40 massive rides packed into the moor, including the enormous 127-foot Liberty Wheel. It wasn't just a fair, it was a Geordie rite of passage. For over a century, the Hoppins had faced everything from war and rain to financial dips and always bounced back. But in 2013, a different kind of storm hit. That year, a bitter dispute erupted between the Showman's Guild and Newcastle City Council. The argument? Rising ground fees, layout charges and who should manage the site. For the first time in living memory, the fair was cancelled. No rides, no music, no candyfloss, just silence on the Town Moor. Alternative fairs popped up in Gateshead and Nuns Moor, but it wasn't the same. The spirit of the Hoppins had been temporarily broken. Thankfully, after months of negotiation and public pressure, an agreement was reached. In 2014, the Hoppins returned and the crowds returned with it. But the biggest disruption of all came in 2020, when the global COVID-19 pandemic shut down events across the world. The Hoppins, like many festivals, was cancelled for health and safety reasons. In 2021, there was hope for a comeback. New organisers, Crew Events, stepped in to take the reins, planning to run the fair in August instead of June, but with restrictions still in place, even that had to be called off. It was a difficult time for the travelling showman community, many of whom rely on the Hoppins for a huge chunk of their annual income. Still, the spirit of the Hoppins wasn't lost. In 2022, the fair finally returned to the Town Moor, and the roar of the rides, music and laughter once again filled the Geordie skies. In 2024, the Hoppins saw big changes: a slightly smaller layout to protect the grass, new art competitions and free entry days for local kids groups. Food zones, music stages and themed areas hinted of a modern twist on a timeless tradition. And in 2025, it's going even further with a brand new Hoppins Village featuring a giant drop tower, live concerts and street food strip called Feast Street. The Hoppins is more than a fun fair. It's a piece of Newcastle's soul, forged in community, built on tradition and carried forward by generations. So whether you're screaming on a roller coaster, hooking a duck or just munching chips in the rain, you're part of something special. So just before I wrap this video up, if you've ever been to the Hoppins, share your memories in the comments below. Also, please give the video a massive thumbs up, as it really helps the channel grow. And if you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell notification when I release more videos. A massive thank you for watching. See you next time on 55 Degrees North.